Problems, we all have them, but the question is, are problems one of the biggest things that we are to avoid, or could problems be the key to open up the doors of endless opportunities? How do we view problems? How do we look at them? Because really, the problems in our life are going to determine so much of how we think, how we breathe, how we feel on a day-to-day basis, even the people that we meet. So today I want to share with you my journey of what I've learned, how to be thankful for the problems in both my life and in my business, because understanding this has radically transformed every area of my life, and I hope it will for you too. In the spirit of Thanksgiving that America's having here this week, I wanted to talk about something that I'm thankful for. And to be honest, I'm thankful for problems, because I've learned that problems are actually a gift from God to us to really experience new levels of fulfillment, of joy, of usefulness, of service, of income, impact, influence. Problems is really what really makes a difference, but I didn't always feel that way. So I want to share with you what was a journey that I went on to learn and discover how problems are actually one of the best things that ever happened for me. So first of all, let's look at, when I say problems, what do I mean by that? Problems are, some people, they call them trials. The Bible talks about trials, talks about tribulations. Sometimes we see obstacles, or we have these troubles in our life, in our health, in our business. Maybe it's we're finding a difficult situation, like generating leads for our business, or not having enough views that we would like to see, or maybe we have a difficult client, and those are causing us problems. Or maybe we're in a health crisis, maybe we're in a financial crisis where we're wondering, how are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to pay the salaries or those we've employed? How are we going to take care of those around us? Maybe we're facing relationship issues with our team, issues with our clients, issues with our spouse, our family members, and we're perplexed about, wow, sometimes life, it seems like there's this big mountain to climb, and it's just very perplexing to our mind. These are problems, and when we're doing things that are hard, and a lot of people want to go the easy way, but those who are rewarded are doing things hard. So these are all what I mean by problems. See, another way you can look at it is anytime that there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. Look at the little red flag, like that's essentially where you would like to be ideally. That gap is a problem, if you will. So I want to ask yourself, let's rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. How comfortable are you with problems right now? If you can give yourself a number, and I want you to write it down, because I'm going to ask you at the end of this video, and our goal is to get this number higher. So a 1 is, I hate problems. I avoid them at all costs. I wish all my problems would just go away. I don't want anything to do with them. And that would be a 1. And a 10 is, I love problems and solving them, and I want bigger problems in life. For me, I'm at a 10, but I wasn't always like that. And you might listen to me and be like, what is up with this dude? Well, I'm going to share with you some of the reasons why I have since changed my view of problems. Because really, what do problems mean? If you look at problems, the only people who don't have problems are 6 feet in the grave. Those are the ones who don't have problems. So in other words, problems are simply a sign of life. The fact that we have problems just means that we're living. I once asked an audience and of the full room, and I was like, how many of you guys have problems in life right now? And every single hand raised up. And I said, look around the room. See, you're not alone. And people were looking in the room. They're like, what? I thought I was the only person who had problems here. And they're saying, like, all these people have problems? And it was really an eye-opener. But what it really shows us is that the fact we have problems just simply means that you're living. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means that you're living. In fact, John 16:33, Jesus himself said, in the world you shall have tribulation. You have problems, but be of good cheer. Why? For I have overcome the world. Jesus is the ultimate problem solver, and he shows that even though, like, problems isn't the absence of cheer, of joyfulness, of peace and courage. Actually, we can have joy. We can have each day getting better than the last, even in the midst of problems, of turmoil, of perplexity, of difficulties in life, health, business, finances. And but how do we do that? it's by learning some of these skills that we're talking about. What I realize is that when problems are postponed, they create crisis. Because if you think about it, how many of you, problems are very much like the updates to our computers. How many of you have seen this screen before, where it says, hey, restart to install the newest update to your computer? And what are the options? You could pick a time, you could postpone, remind me later, or you could restart now. How many of us love pressing restart now, closing out of everything that we have, and however many tabs you got, I won't ask you, but what do? Do we pick a time to restart now? Most people are like postpone, later, not now, postpone, postpone. And then what happens? When we postpone enough, then eventually our computers start to crash. We get this blue screen of death. And if we don't restart, then our computers will restart for us. Now, that's what happens when we don't update our software. But the same thing with problems. If problems are not solved, then they will persist. They will come back until it's solved. So problems postponed, they create crisis. If we're having a financial problem that we're having a lot of conversations, but they're not profitable conversations. If we are solving problems or serving people or doing things that's not necessarily income producing activities, we can have so much busy work. And this is what I found. Like, there was time when I was seeking to grow my business, but I was so busy with activity, but they weren't income producing activities. Like, sure, they could be good things, but I could do good things that also produce income. And my mindset was such where it was really hard to do things that would produce a profit, that will grow my business, generate leads, clients, customers. And it made a challenge. So by postponing these problems, and I see that I need to generate leads, I need to ask for a sale, I need to actually invite someone to invest with my solutions, and I postponed, but what happened? It led to a financial crisis where I was homeless, living in my car. I had over 15 failed business attempts, and I'm wondering, what is the key to growing a successful business? And it wasn't until I invested in a mentor that was able to show me how to generate leads, how to have profitable conversations, how to prioritize my focus and time, to stop doing everything myself and start paying people to help do things that are things that, one, I don't know how to do, I shouldn't do, or I don't even enjoy doing. So outsource some things, work with a team, develop skills or strategic partnerships with people. And then that investing in that mentor led to me having a multiple six-figure family business. And when I look back at those 15 failed attempts, those problem after problems that I finally learned, one of the biggest lessons is investing in mentorship was one of the biggest things that I could possibly do to grow my business. And what I would submit to you is that discomfort or pain is a sign not to avoid the pain of these problems, but it's to lean into. God often uses pain to introduce us to that there needs to be a change. Otherwise, what happens is we find ourselves on a hamster wheel. We're in this vicious cycle of just procrastinating our problems because we're running, busy all the time, max capacity, overloaded, time filled, schedule maxed out. And it seems like we're not really getting anywhere. And we're wondering why. Why am I not further than I thought I would be further than I am? What's happening? And I would submit to us that a lot of times there's these two routes that we end up doing. There's one extreme that is the unintentional consumption, where when we have these problems, we start consuming a lot of content, or maybe it's entertainment, maybe it's educational content. But either way, it's unintentional. It just doesn't really have a clear vision. It's not like we're solving the biggest bottleneck in our life, the biggest problem, the highest leverage problem. It's just like we're just maybe allowing YouTube or our news feed to dictate for us what we feed our mind with, what we listen to. And while unintentional consumption gives this deceptive feeling of forward progress, we start going through courses, we start going through YouTube channels, and we click whatever title or thumbnail captures our attention, and it might feel like we get a sense of feeling forward progress because we're learning something new, and it creates dopamine, and it gets addictive to new information. But what happens is we're spending so much time learning, but we're never actually implementing what we're learning. Or the things we're learning about, like we might be on step 3 and we're over here learning about what problems to solve at step 34. And it's impossible for us to actually do something with that information because we're on step 3. And really, the only thing that matters is what is it that will get me from step 3 to step 4 in my business, from step 4 to step 5. And once we start doing that, then we find ourselves in this vicious cycle of unintentional consumption. Well, if that's not it, then the other extreme is what I would call unintentional working, where we fill our times with activity, with busy work. Maybe we keep our hands filled doing things that are of little to no consequence, really, if it gets done. Or we start majoring in minor things. And I began to realize that a lot of my millionaire mentors, all of them, they didn't major in minor things. They majored in major things. They kept the main thing the main thing. And that's why they were able to distinguish themselves from who they used to be or what the majority would do. And they create extraordinary results. But the unintentional working, we start filling our time and our schedule commitment to doing things that we feel like it's of service, or we feel that it's good things. We feel useful, we feel significant, we feel like we're accomplishing something. We have this deceptive sense of accomplishment. And the reason why I say it's deceptive is because, again, as we're checking off all these little tasks, we get this hit of dopamine and it gets addictive to do these unintentional working. But oftentimes, busy work will start stealing from our life's work. And what is the purpose of accomplishment or productivity if it's not towards an intentional objective or a goal that we're seeking to actually accomplish? So if we're just filling our plate with work, but it's not actually getting us closer to the goal, then that's just busy work. It's not actually productive work. It's not producing the results that we ultimately desire. So the reason we end up distracting ourselves with these two extremes, from unintentional consumption or unintentional work, is because, generally speaking, there's an underlying problem. There's a foundational problem that we're facing, or that we're ignoring, that we're postponing, that we're distracting our mind from. So we have to try to do something to numb the mind or distract the mind to prevent us from actually addressing or healing from the hurt that's inside, or whatever the issue is. And so what I found is one of the things that has been the greatest blessings of my life is looking at these patterns of unintentional consumption, or when I'm doing unintentional work, and see like that is an indication that there's some foundational problem I'm missing, and then start looking at what is that problem? What is the problem that I'm avoiding? And when I stop postponing that, which leads to more crisis in our life, then I start addressing the problems, going to the Word of God, finding out what is the remedy to fix this problem, and start being intentional with my new learnings, being intentional in my workings. Then I can get off the hamster wheel and I can start making real forward progress and momentum in my life, in my business, in my relationships, in my finances. Big things happen when we address problems. And what I've learned too is that a lot of times at first I had this desire where I'm like, okay, I could solve this problem, or when this problem goes away, it might be our circumstances, it might be the uncomfortable place I'm at, or maybe it's a lack of skills. And I just kept thinking at the beginning, it's like, well, when I can solve this problem, then life will be easier. But the reality is, problems never go away. They just change. And as you can see on the screen, there's this stair step. As you could see, that I like this photo because it really represents to me like this stair stepping of life is really every time that we solve a problem, what happens? A new problem arises. It's like stairs. The more problems we solve, the bigger they get. Now, does that mean that we don't want to solve any problems? No, because the way to a purposeful life, a meaningful life, a productive life, a profitable life is by learning how to develop the skills to solve increasingly higher quality problems. And a life of victory is really a life of increasingly bigger problems. My favorite Bible verse in all the Word is Luke 16:10. It says, he that is faithful in that which is least will be faithful also much. He that is unjust in that which is least will be unjust also much. So it's by solving the little problems that equip us for being able to solve big problems. Now, what's a big problem? Big problem might be having a $3,000 offer that you're a health educator and you're able to solve a problem for someone that they'd be willing to pay $3,000 for. The reality is, not every problem pays the same when you solve it. But by learning how to sell a $3,000 offer. I remember the first time I sold a $1,000 course, and I'm like, wow, I've bought plenty of $1,000 courses, but that was a problem in and of itself. The first time I ever paid $1,000 for a course, I was like, oh, I didn't have the money. I bought it when I couldn't afford it. I've never done that before. And I realized I had to come up with this problem where instead of saying I can't afford, I started asking, well, how could I afford? And by asking, how could I afford that? Then I started thinking about resources I could pull together to make it work. And when I invested in that course, I found like, wow, free information is worth every penny. And part of the reason why I had so many problems is because I was trying to piecemeal and patchwork all these different free trainings, free webinars, free YouTube videos, free podcasts, trying to piece them together to get some valuable problem. But I realized that we get what we pay for. And if I pay for nothing, then I got nothing to show for myself. But when I started to invest in mentorship, invest in education and online courses, I realized, whoa, they've actually taken a problem and they've created a step-by-step plan. And when I solve one step, I get to move on to the next step and the next step. And it's just a series of problems I get to solve, and I have a mentor that's guiding me through it. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. But here's the thing. Once I solved that problem, then I realized there's a new problem that I wanted to solve. And a lot of times people think that it's like, oh, I bought a $1,000 sales course and I'm not a millionaire yet. And they're like, oh, that online education stuff doesn't work. Where the reality is, it's like, well, the sales material probably works. It's just, is sales essential to grow a profitable business? Yes. But is it the only thing that you need to grow a profitable business? No. You need to be able to generate leads, and then you can sell to them. And then you need the skills to fulfill, to ascend them to more profitable products. And you need the skills for retention and retaining your clients, getting them results. Those are different skills, and turning those results into referrals. So along the way, there's multiple problems in business that we get to solve, but just one course on sales is not going to help you to immediately become this profitable 6-figure, 7-figure earner, but it was an essential piece in the pipeline, if you will. So when we solve that problem, we get to creates follow-up problems, and we get better quality problems. So I believe that the purpose of solving problems in our business is not to get to a place where we have no problems or we have no bottlenecks, but it's to become a person who consistently identifies what is the biggest bottleneck and then address that, so we're a person that's constantly closing the gap between where we are and where we want to be in our business. And that's exactly what happens. As soon as we close the gap, like let's say there was a time where generating leads was like so difficult, and that was a challenge. And then we fixed that problem, and then what happened? It created another problem where it's like, now we got so many leads that we don't have the systems to take care of it and to handle the people and to really follow up with them. So that created a new problem. And that's exactly what happens. We think that when this problem goes away, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be able to be successful. Then I will be worthy. Then I will be able to do what I want to do. But the reality is, as soon as we close a gap, we create another gap, because God has put in our heart this desire to grow, this desire to become more, to be more, to do more, to have more, because he created us that way. In Genesis 1:29, God called the first commandments from God to man is to be fruitful and replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. So it's this ever expansion, subduing these problems, having dominion, having more. God has created us with this desire for noble ends to do more good. So if we want a life of victory in our business, in our ministry, in our relationships, then what we have to do is learn to solve bigger problems, to have better problems, better quality problems, and to have these. And so it's like these steps in the stairs, the stairways to success. And when I began to realize this, it really took a big weight off of my shoulders. And I began to understand that the quality of our life and business comes down to the quality of the problems that we have and solve. So the bigger the problem, the better the life. And this really helped me a lot. In fact, like even Psalms 119, verse 71, it talks about how it is good for me that I've been afflicted. Why? That I might learn thy statutes. So I had a heart attack when I was 12 years old. I started to get chunky, started to get overweight. In fact, more than chunky, I was morbidly obese. I was the second fattest kid of an elementary school of about 1,000 students. And that weight problem created some bullying problems. And that weight problem led me in the hospital, and they took my blood work, found out I was high cholesterol, high blood pressure, borderline diabetic, and I already knew I was morbidly obese and severely depressed. So I had a problem. But you know what? God used that pain. God used a diagnosis. God used that health crisis to help open my eyes to recognize, number one, I have a problem, and then it led me to seek out a solution. And you know, when you're seeking the solution, it's a very good place to be. Because there I found that it was through that heart attack that I started learning about nutrition, about detoxing, about giving my body the nutrition it requires, moving more often. I was able to lose 50 pounds in 3 months, never put it back on. Was able to get to a healthier weight. Was able to no longer borderline diabetic. I was able to eliminate the asthma. Was able to live with more freedom. But why? It's because that affliction led me to change. It led me to desire something different. So I'm grateful for my heart attack. And that problem that I faced, it wasn't just for me, it was for other people. So now I'm able to share that story and teach others to awaken to change, to teach others that, hey, they can. I love that story because I love talking to health educators, because I tell people it was one man with the health message who packages health knowledge into a book, and he learned how to market and sell that book to my mother, to my family, that I am alive to tell the story. And I believe that you as health educators have the ability to not just transform the lives of people, but to save the lives of millions who you are called to serve. And it's such a privilege to be able to serve health educators, to teach them the marketing skills, not only to pay the bills, but to extend the lives of those that you're able to serve. And that's exciting. Now, could I have that story? Could I give that guidance in that authentic kind of way if I didn't have a heart attack when I was 12? No. So what we see is that the problems of our past, they don't disqualify us from being able to serve others. The problems actually equip us to have a better quality solution, better quality message, better quality service. And so this taught me, like in Psalms 119:71, again, it's good for me that I've been afflicted. So in other words, it says that everything in life is happening for you and not to you. And when we realize that all these problems are a gift, these problems are happening for you. And now when there's unmet expectations, I'm able to think about how is this happening for me? In fact, when I grew up, here's a photo of my family. I grew up without a father, and and here's my siblings on the left. But really I grew up with my mom and my sister on the right. And my two older brothers, they were like adopted out of the family. But because I didn't have my father in the picture, I remember asking when I was younger, I'm like, well, why is this happening to me, right? And this is a lousy question, and I felt lousy, and I felt abandoned, I felt unloved, I felt like I was a mistake. And so all these things, when I'm asking like, why is this happening to me? It led to down this downward spiral of discouragement. But when I started asking, when we change our question, we change our life. Then we started asking, well, how is this happening for me? So that's a better quality question. We get better quality answers. And now I realize, well, some of the benefits of growing out without a father, it's given me greater empathy. It's given me a stronger appreciation for my Father in heaven. Helps me to to identify when people are hurting. I used to think that growing up without a father would make me a terrible dad and a bad mentor. I wouldn't be able to give back to what I have never received. But now I realize that it's actually equipped me to be a mentor, to a father to the fatherless, to be a friend, an older brother to people who don't have one. And I'm able to be sensitive to being able to connect with younger men throughout my ministry and being able to help others. So that has it really changed my perspective in life. And notice that the problems of my past didn't change. My history didn't change. What changed? It was my question. It was my perception around the problems, where now I have an empowering meaning. So there's two sides to every coin, two sides of every situation. You could focus on the scarcity, on what's missing, or you could focus on the solutions of what we're grateful that we have. And another thing that really makes a difference is recognizing that problems, the very fact that there is a problem means there is a solution. So instead of, this is a belief that I adopted that has radically transformed my ability to be able to solve problems in my life. Is before I used to think that there was problems that are bigger than me, or that there's problems that I couldn't fix or that I couldn't address. And so it would be really discouraging. And really a lot of the pain or the suffering that we go through is because we see a problem, we think that there's no way to solve it. But the reality is, if you can adopt, and when I adopted the belief that the very fact there is a problem, like, what's a problem? Well, I don't know what it is, or I can't afford it. Well, that's a problem. But the very fact there is a problem means there's a solution. So I can ask, well, how do I solve it? Or where can I get the knowledge? Or what can I learn? Who knows that? Who could I listen to? What mentor could I invest in? That if there's a problem, there's always a solution. And adopting this solution-oriented mindset where we spend 5% of our attention on the problem and 95% on the solution, this is where we start solving problems. Mark 10:27, Jesus said, with men it is impossible, but not with God. For with God, all things are possible. So my question, do you focus more on the problem or do you focus on the solution? I have learned that instead of telling God how big my problems are, I've learned to start telling my problems how big my God is. And by doing that, it shifts everything. And realizing that in our team, we have a value that we read each week. And it's this solution-oriented idea where I don't allow my team to come to me and say, hey, we've got this problem, or I don't know what to do here. I ask them to bring a 6-inch putt. It's not enough to just say what the issue is. I want you to bring to me, here's a 6-inch putt. You're like, what's that? In golf, when you have when you're putting, you have the end goal where you have the hole and you have the golf, and when it's 6 inches away, you could just tap and putt it over there. I don't want people to come to me when the golf ball is way across the field from the hole, and they're like, okay, here's a problem, and then all the effort and work to try to get it closer to the hole. What I want them to do is think about solutions before they bring them to me. So they're able to recognize the gap between where the ball is and then where the hole is, and then they're bringing it 6 inches, and then I could put it into the hole where it's less effort and more solution oriented. It's teaching them how to think for themselves. And it's really created a culture of solutions, not just having problems. So what is a 6-inch putt? Tell me, what is the number one biggest problem that you're facing? And the reason why we ask, what's the biggest problem that we have in our business, on our team, or accomplishing this monthly objective, and what's the number one biggest problem? And we're able to identify where's the bottleneck. Because there could be 1,000 different problems we could solve, but what's the biggest problem? That's the one that we're able to identify and focus on. Then I ask them, what are 3 possible solutions that we can solve it? And then, what is your number one suggestion out of those 3 and why? And then once they give that, then I could either say, hey, I agree with your solution. That sounds great. Let's go forward. Or say, no, that's, or like, I like my favorite's not the one you suggested, but I like the second option that you gave. That's good. Or that might make me think of something that I thought of as a result of what they said, and then bring in a fourth solution. But because they were able to think through the solutions, then we're able to get better quality answers. Hopefully that's making sense. And granted, I don't have them give me a 6-inch putt for everything. I also trust them. I trust my team to make decisions and to be able to choose things and to put and to make decisions. And then they come to me and say, hey, I saw this problem and this is a solution that I employed or implemented to fix it. Those are the best. We use a 6-inch putt whenever they want feedback and they would like my input on the direction that they're going. So that's how we use it. But you could do that for others. Like I even have that for my clients. A lot of times my clients will identify what's the number one biggest bottleneck. If it's lead generation, then what are 3 possible solutions that we could generate leads? Out of those 3, what's the number one that's going to make the biggest difference and why? And then we go to work on that. And this exercise of the 6-inch putt is so powerful, so profound. It allows us to find solutions, be solution-oriented, not problem-oriented, because a lot of times struggling health educators are stuck in their business because all they see is problems and they don't see the solution. So we want to train our brain to be solution-oriented. And by having that mindset, we can be thankful for the problems. And you know, another thing that really helps me is realizing, did you know that problems can only exist in a statement? The moment you turn your problem into a question, it now can be solved. Where as a statement, it's unsolvable. Like I'll give you an example. So let's say we're on a sales call and we are talking to prospective clients who want to change their health. They want to lose weight. They want to feel better, and they're not buying. They're not buying our program. And we're like, okay, so the problem is the people are getting on the calls, but they're not buying, or our people don't buy, or these people can't afford, or they are not interested in changing their health. People don't want to listen to changing their diet or improving their health. Like these are problems I hear a lot of times from health educators. And it's really amazing to me how people are like, people don't want to change their diet and they don't want to improve their health. They're not interested in investing in their health. But like our company has been able to serve, our family business has sold. We've had over 15,500 paying clients and growing every week of people who are paying to change their life, their diet, their health, to transform their life. And so like when people tell me, oh, people don't want to listen to the health, they don't want to change their lifestyle, I'm just like, that's completely not true. So now that's a problem. But how do we solve it is by asking, okay, well, why would people want to invest? And when you could answer why would they want to invest, because it costs more money in medical bills, it costs more money in surgeries they don't need because of the price that they're paying. I mean, there was someone that I was coaching who was helping people with weight loss, and she was talking to someone, and she was not really interested in losing weight, and she wasn't interested in she was like kind of interested but not really urgent. And so I started asking, well, you want to look for a frustration? Why would she want to? And by continuing the conversation, realizing that, well, she's been wasting food. She buys groceries and it rots in her fridge. And while it's rotting in her fridge, it's really frustrating her that she's just wasting money there. It's like, oh, there you go. So by being able to figure out why would she be interested in investing in your program, it wasn't for weight loss, it was for the nutrition, the unparalleled nutrition, the superfood system that's not going to go rotting in the fridge. And then she bought instantly and was happy with the decision. But it's by changing our problems into questions. The moment you turn a statement into a question, now it could be solved. Instead of saying, I can't afford, asking, how can I afford? Then your brain starts looking at, well, maybe I could rearrange some money in these different accounts, bring them together. I mean, I was on a call with someone recently, and they were like, oh, you're above my budget. And first of all, I was like, I didn't even state what the budget was, But second, they told me what their budget was beforehand, and I was definitely within that. And it was very interesting, but a lot of times we come with a prejudice or this mindset that I can't afford. And the reason why I can't afford is because I assume I can't afford. And a lot of times it's not because there's not physically the money in the bank account, or that I don't have the resourcefulness to ask someone to contribute, or that I can't like borrow on a credit card, or I can't have, I don't have the money. I mean, how many times people say I can't afford or it's too much, but they actually have the money in their account is amazing to me. But a lot of times it's by asking, it's like, okay, so now I turn that problem, I can't afford, it's out of my budget, into a question. So when you told me previously your budget was this, is that not true, or has things changed since our call? And it's like, oh no, that is my budget. It's like, okay, well, that is actually the price that we have available. And that's not just making it up either. That's literally what I was going to offer, was exactly the budget that she was saying that it's in. So it was a good match. She's like, oh, well, I could do that. But a lot of times we assume that we don't have the solution. We assume that the problem is bigger than our resourcefulness. And when we stop doing that, then we start finding solutions. So, but when we ask these problem-solving questions, when we turn our statements into questions, then we have to ask with absolute certainty. And number one, that there is an answer. Number two, I will find it. Number three, it'll be worth it when I do. Because Jesus said in Matthew 9:29, according to your faith, be it unto you. So even when we're asking, what's the biggest problem? What's the biggest problem that we're facing in reaching our goal? Well, you have to ask with absolute certainty that there is a problem. And because if you don't believe that there's a problem, that there is one biggest problem, like there is a problem that's going to be responsible for over 80% of the results. And that's where people get so overwhelmed. They got this big old list of things to do, but they don't prioritize and recognize that there's generally about 20% of the task on any to-do list are responsible for 80% of the results. So it's not a matter of getting all these things done. It's a matter of prioritizing what is the biggest problem to solve first. And number two is, I will find it. Sometimes we don't believe that I'll be able to find the solution. I'll be able to find the biggest problem, or maybe we have the problem and then we're like, okay, well then what are three possible solutions? We have to believe with absolute certainty there are three possible solutions to the problems, at least three. And we have to believe I can find those three possible, I will find those three possible solutions. Sometimes we believe that we will, but we don't believe it'll be worth it when I do. Because if I believe that I can find the solutions, I mean there are solutions, I will find it, but it won't be worth my time, my energy, my effort to come up with them, then I'm not going to find the solutions to my problems. So what we have to do is, whenever we're asking problem-solving questions at any phase, is believe with absolute certainty. James 1:5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, you can ask. Ask of God liberally, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not. But let him ask in faith, not wavering. Why? Because a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, and don't think that man is going to receive anything of the Lord. So when we ask the questions, we have to have absolute certainty, this faith that we believe there's an answer. I will find it. It'll be worth it when I do, because all of these are conditional. Where if we ask the question, sometimes we're like, yeah, what is the three possible solutions? Well, that's a different tone than, what are three possible solutions? And we're looking for the solutions. If one is asking in doubt, wavering, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they are. Well, we're not going to find it. We're violating the promise of James 1:5. So we're not going to, if we don't supply the condition, we don't receive the answers. One of the reasons we stay in scarcity, in lack, in not enough, or in unfulfillments, is because we're so focused on what we don't have, or we don't work in faith. It's not enough to do work. We have to do work believing that it's going to be worth it when I do. Because James also says, faith without works is dead, being alone, right? Well, also work without faith is also dead, because you can do the work but not have your heart in it, not put your belief behind your actions, and that's also dead. That's not going to help you to get where you want to go. You could be building a signature speech thinking, oh, no one's going to buy. You could be crafting a premium health offer saying, oh, no one's interested in this. But if you don't work with the faith, the absolute certainty, conviction that people want what you have to offer, you're not going to put in effort to build the business of your dreams and serve the clients that you can. So this faith is a very important part of being able to transform our lives and solve the problems in our life. And another thing we can ask, here's 8 questions. When we change our focus, we change everything. So here's 8 questions that you can All right, it looks like our microphone went out, but we are back in there. So, not sure at what point that the volume was taken out, but the last thing that I was sharing is that if we change our focus, then we change our results. So here's 8 questions you can ask to change your focus. And what I would do is go ahead and screenshot this, because I'm not going to go through all of them. And now I want to ask, on a scale from 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with problems? With, again, a 1 is I hate and avoid problems. I wish they would just go away. Where a 10 is I love problems and solving them, and I want bigger problems, better quality problems, because I know that the quality of my life comes down to the quality of the problems that I have. So what number are you on this scale? And let me know in the comments how many of you had your number raised a little higher by the end of this video. I know mine has been encouraged. So if you're a health educator and you want to grow your business online and you want to learn how to monetize your health knowledge and reach more people you're called to serve, I have a high income health expert challenge that's coming up. And I do this each month, and I want to invite you to be a part of this. Just go to highincomehealthexpert.com, or you can comment the word challenge below. Look at the link in the description, and you can find or text a number on the screen. You can screenshot this as well. And I would love to invite you to our next challenge, where we're going to be going into helping you to discover what are the biggest problems in your business that are preventing you from getting from where you are to where you want to be. How can you monetize your health knowledge? Looking at, sometimes people have challenge with packaging their knowledge into profitable products. We're able to help solve that problem. We can help you to generate more leads. We're going to be showing you how to attract clients who actually want to pay you, and so many other problems that you'll face along the journey of building a high-income health expert business. So just comment challenge down below. We'd love to invite you to that. And so this has been my journey of how I've learned to be thankful for problems in my business, and you can too. And in spirit of Thanksgiving, I wanted to show that we can be thankful for our problems. We can be thankful for the hardships in our business and our life. And when we change the way that we look at things, the things we look at will change. So I'm Enoch Leffingwell, and it's been a pleasure to share this with you. And I look forward to seeing you in our challenge or in the comment section. I go live every week where we're dropping new videos like this to help you to grow your business. And remember, friends, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Have a great day, and God bless.